How has your life changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and what were the positive and negative aspects?
So my life has changed. I think that the positive aspects of the pandemic were that now it is normal that you can communicate with people also via the internet. You don't have to see them face to face. And that it is totally normal to have some kind of meetings or other bigger events where a lot of people get together. It is totally normal to have them via internet. But I think that the negative side effects for me were that I was more anxious and there were fewer opportunities to communicate so personally, face to face. And it at the beginning it made it harder to say or to understand what the other person wants from you, or so how the communication goes. So maybe that was the harder part. And of course, so at first the news were quite upsetting, and then you just had to, or I just had to take a break from watching the news or from listening to the news so that I wouldn't get too anxious. But yes, so during the first pandemic wave, then I had the opportunity to spend more time with my children and with my husband. And we had the chance to discover the beautiful nature in Estonia. So that was fun. And that was the time when our movie nights with our family started. So it was a chance to make something or to do something fun, and in the meantime not to go outside when it was prohibited. So that was fun. But yes, so during that time I especially realized how important it is to have social relationships and how important it is to stay connected, to make phone calls with your relatives, with your friends, and just to talk about everyday stuff. And it helped a lot to stay sane and not to lose it. And for myself, I discovered that so it's a nice way to switch off from the everyday news when you watch kitten or puppy videos from YouTube. So it is nowadays, it's a cliche, but back then it helped a lot.
How have you been affected by the COVID pandemic in relation to your work-life balance and digital well-being?
So I think so. The most important thing, I think the whole world has realized that if you are sick, then you are sick and you don't have to go to work. You have to stay at home and get well, and then you can go back to work. And as I am a parent as well, so if your child is sick, then it's more important than the fact that you have to go to work. So I think that people have realized that health comes first, and then the other things come after that. So work things. And yes, so I mentioned that it's important. So for my digital well-being, it's important to have certain times when I watch the news, when I read the news, and then you have to switch off or do something else. Because if you watch the news too much, then it starts to affect your mental health. And yes, but at the same time, the internet is a great way to stay connected with your family and friends when they are away from you. And also I mentioned that it is a possibility to have meetings or other work-related things via the internet. So you don't have to meet face-to-face, you can have meetings online.
Have you received any support from your team members or from your team leader to make your work-life balance and digital well-being better?
So I have to say I haven't really received any support. So at first, the situation in the world, so with the pandemic, was new to everyone. So we all had to cope in our own way. And I think that even now, digital well-being is not a topic that is discussed very much, or it should be discussed more. So maybe now people talk about the things that, for example, for teenagers and for elderly people, during the pandemic, it was a hard thing that because they couldn't communicate with their family members or with their friends. So that took a toll on their mental health. But I think that it should be talked more about that, this digital well-being, that it is important not to stay online the whole day. It is important to have real relationships. It is important to take care of your physical body and not just only stay online the whole day.
What have you expected from your workplace to improve your situation during pandemic?
Equipment-wise, so microphones and that kind of stuff, headphones, microphones, that is important to have, so proper equipment. But sometimes it helps just to send a joke to your team member or your colleague, or just to make a short phone call and ask, so how are you? And I think that these kind of things are more important. So equipment can fail you, but relationships help you to survive.
What lessons have you learned? What have helped you to improve your work-life balance and digital well-being?
So I have learned that it is important to have a schedule, to have a specific time to do your work things, and then to plan that when work things are done, then it is time to have or to spend time with your family or your friends. And it is also important to schedule some time to do sports or to do physical exercises, because healthy body, healthy mind. And to have relationships, to communicate in real life, not only via Facebook or via the internet, to really make a phone call, or if it's possible, go and see face-to-face your relatives or your friends.
What is digital well-being for you?
So I think it should be taught already in the first or second grade, because nowadays very small children start to spend time online. But digital well-being, most importantly, is that you communicate online the same way as you do in real life. So you are polite, you take responsibility for your words, you don't troll anyone, yes. So most importantly, you don't spend your whole life online, but you have certain time to do your work online or your duties online, and then you have time to have a life in the real world.
Thank you very much.